Welcome to our first episode of MW Interviews with the pleasure of hosting Mr. Ron Lewis, a remarkable leader and visionary in humanitarian and Christian missionaries. With over 40 years of dedicated experience, Mr. Ron has been at the forefront of initiating projects to cater to unreached, orphans, and church startups across the globe. As the founder of numerous ministries and churches, including the Every Nation Churches of New York City and Kings Park's International Churches, Mr. Ron has significantly impacted both local and international communities. His passion for spreading faith and empowering the youth shines through his works and teachings. Today, Mr. Ron is here to share how teenagers can integrate their faith and passions to make a positive difference in the world. Mr. Ron, would you like to add anything before we start?
That was great, Mahesh. Thank you.
So, starting off with the first question, if you were a teenager in today's society with the current knowledge you have, what would you do to make sure that you're ahead of everyone else?
So, being ahead of everyone else is quite the challenge. And I would say that in my particular situation, I grew up a pretty average kid. You may be the head of your class and maybe in whatever it is, whatever field you're in. You might be ahead of the class in athletics, or it might be your intellect. It might be that you're first in class. You're going to be summa cum laude, and you may be all of that. But let's face it, the majority of people in the world are not that. The vast majority, the 99.9%, are not in that place. Yeah. So the first thing that I would say is find what you're good at and make that your thing, as long as you're really happy in it and fulfilled in it. A lot of people are stressed out because they want to be like their mom or their dad or Michael Jordan or whoever their icons are. Mm-hmm. But the reality is we're never going to be that. We're probably never going to be that. So we might as well do what we enjoy to do and add value to the world.
When you were around our age, did you know what you wanted to be?
When I was around what?
When you were a teenager?
Yeah. No, I didn't. I always thought that I would be doing what I love doing the most. And it doesn't always work out that way. So for me, that was playing golf. Mm-hmm. I just love golf. It was my passion. It was my hobby. It was all those things. But again, to realize that, I may be good at it against just people at large, but I can never measure up to whatever the great golfers were back then, the legends, Jack Nicklaus and Lee Trevino, and these great ones that you guys have never heard of. You're not old enough to know these guys. But I think that as I began to go past high school into college, I began to find a little bit more of direction in the calling of my life.
That's really good.
Or purpose. Purpose is important.
So when you were in college, you still didn't know what to do, but you abandoned your teenage passion? Is that what happened?
I did. I totally abandoned it. And what helped me abandon that is that I experienced a broken finger. And so when you break your finger, your primary finger in playing golf, that's pretty much it. And it was okay, though, because I was beginning to find my destiny in other ways.
That's good to know. You've traveled extensively to spread faith and support community projects. What advice would you give teenagers eager to explore the world and make a difference through their faith?
So, that's a great question. And so I think for me, one of the things that I have said a lot of times is when you see the need, you should take the lead. Mm-hmm. And it's an easy thing to remember because it's, it rhymes. It's just easy. And for me, as I got older, I began to see the level of privilege that I had compared to people around the world. Mm-hmm. As I was traveling, I would begin to see how so many people in the world really just lack opportunity. So, for example, I didn't really have to go overseas. Just 5 minutes north of our church is a government housing project. The government sponsors it. It's 99% single family with a mom there, not a dad. And I begin to see that, these kids they can be really bright, but they just don't have the opportunity. Mm. And so we started a life center. And I remember when the Department of Housing for Durham, when they began to ask me they began to ask me to come in and talk to them. I wasn't sure if that was good or bad. Mm-hmm. It's like seeing the principal and you kind of think, okay, this is going to be a threat.
Yeah.
Something's going down here. I must have done something wrong. And to the contrary, he said, these kids have gone from D's and F's to A's and B's. And he said, would you be willing to start more of these life centers in the other government-sponsored housing neighborhoods? Mm-hmm. And I was kind of blown away by that because we were just doing what little bit we could do. We bought a few computers. We stayed there, and then seeing the success of that drove me to do other things, like the issue of the crisis of orphans worldwide. There's nearly 200 million kids who have no parents. Yeah. And a lot of people would look at that and say, well, there's nothing I can do. But if you start doing certain things, then next thing you know, 1 and then 2 and then 4 and then 8, and you know how that works. So now we've been able to serve about 7,000 orphans. And it just started with a small thought that, hey, we can do something. We don't have to do everything, but we can do something.
Many people in Cary have opportunities that other people around the world don't have.
Yeah.
How do you think they could capitalize off that to help many people like you did?
Yeah, so I think we need to be aware of what's going on around us.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times it's just that being available and not trying to be a superstar, but actually just be a servant and ask people questions. I think that helps a lot. Okay.
In your extensive experience with the ministry and community projects, how can teenagers use their passions to serve others and future God's kingdom?
That's great. I think you start small and you start where you are. So once again, you see the need, then you can just begin to go in and help. One of the things that I've always asked my sons to do, who are your age, a little older, is to really encourage them to not be intimidated, not be insecure, but just get started. And if you ask questions, you can grow quicker. There's so much at our disposal on the internet, but a lot of times it doesn't take into the reality that most of us have parents, and we can just ask them questions and learn from people's failures. Yeah. And so that's like a really big blessing that we have in our lives. So I think that's one aspect of it.
Yeah, that's good. You've been instrumental in launching various initiatives worldwide. For a teenager interested in starting similar projects, what foundational steps would you recommend?
Yeah, I think just offer yourself. There's a famous book on purpose by Rick Warren, and he talks about the purpose-driven life. And his opening word for this rich book of hundreds of pages that's been sold to some 60 or 70 million people. This book has gone all over the world. And he starts with a very interesting sentence. And he said, it's not about you. And that's really a great way to begin, because all of us, especially in the digital world today, we tend to just look at ourselves and comparing ourselves to other people and falling short all the time and feeling so much insecurity, so much doubt, so much fear, so much hesitation. And we need to write a new script in our own lives. And part of that begins with, this isn't about me. I'm going to be on this planet to make a difference in the world and know my purpose in life.
So to start doing projects like you did, you have to find yourself first, know what you want, and pursue with it, right?
And finding yourself is tricky because there's a lot of things in that. I remember back in my era that there was a saying that I'm going to go to Europe, because I want to find myself. And that was the saying, I'm growing up in this great family. We've got a good home. We got a swimming pool, all that. But I need to go to Europe to find myself. I mean, some people would die for what we have. It's just recognizing the obvious right here. And I think that's something that's important because you're really never going to find yourself until you're at peace with yourself. And one thing that helps everybody, and this is going into neurology, where even your brain begins to understand the gift of giving our life away, and our brain rewards us when we do that, when we're kind, when we're gentle, when we're actually not looking to be number one, but pushing others up to try to help them to be number one. And this is something I think in this generation that we need to see the opportunities that are before us and just start now. Just start beginning that way.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, my brother.
Reflecting on your journey, what were some challenges you faced early on, and how can teenagers prepare to overcome similar obstacles in their pursuits?
Yeah. I think we all have psychological challenges. You know, we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, whatever. And this is why I go back to the basics of just start serving. Just give your life away. Just start serving people, helping people. So I'll give you an example. We have a hockey team here in Raleigh, the Carolina Hurricanes. Have you been to a game yet?
No, but I've had, like, when I was in elementary school, they would come visit and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So all of my sons were playing ice hockey, and they were pretty good, and they loved the Hurricanes. And then one day, a friend of mine said, "Hey, I want to give you this number." He's one of the guys who plays for the Hurricanes. His name was Adam Burt. He's retired now, and said, "Just give him a call. Please give him a call. I'm a pastor in the community," and he said that he would want to know something about what you do. And so I started thinking about, he's going to be busy. He's going to be, he probably thinks I just want his autograph, all that, which I did not want.
Yeah.
And it turned out, like, when I called him, I just said, "Hey, I'm Ron Lewis. I'm a pastor in the community, and I know you're new here, and we have a mutual friend who gave me your number, and I just want to reach out and say, is there anything I can do to help you or serve you? You doing okay? Do you need help moving in your furniture or anything like that?" And there was this pause, and I thought, he's going to hang up on me. Here's a celebrity hockey player, and he's just going to say you're crazy. But what happened was just the opposite. He called his wife. He said, "Susan, there's this pastor on the phone, and he says he can help us." And he said, "Hey, man, we don't know each other, but I'm in deep trouble now. I have to get someone to go to the airport now. I have to have someone to pick up these things. I've got all this stuff going on. Can you help me?" I said, "I'll be there." And when you know, we became like best friends. I had all the hockey seats that I could ever want, no matter who's playing, wherever. I was in the box seats, free meals, all this stuff. And it's all because that one metric, that one little thing that we do, that we need to do. And that is, let's just make ourselves available to serve. And it's never failed me.
So you believe helping people is the key to going farther in life?
I think serving them, yeah, like serving and helping are very similar. So you're right. But I think there are times when there's people need help that they can get from other places. But to be alongside and say, "I'm going to serve you." And that led, in my life, he asked me about a year or so later, and he said, "I want you to mentor me." And I was shocked by that, but I did. And now he's one of our pastors in New York City. He took one of my roles, one of my positions, and he's also the chaplain for the New York Jets. So, it's just like little things don't have to be big things,
Yeah, they go a long way. How can young people gain practical experience in the ministry and humanitarian work while still in school? Are there any specific programs or activities that you'd suggest for them?
Great. So, we all have opportunities, and we need to choose what we want to do. For me, there's 1,000 things that I just either can't do or I'm not interested in. But there are so many things that are really important to me. And as I mentioned before already, is the Life Center there in Durham, and that's still going today and thriving. And the kids are still in need of mentors and tutors, and people can jump on board. I know that your next door neighbor across the street, there's Rushel, and he and his mom, Dr. Deepa, they actually go to the Life Center and they help students. They help those who are underserved, underprivileged, and need help. And so it's been a great joy for me to see the full cycle of these kids who have no idea where they are. They're not even able to read in the third grade or fourth grade or whatever. And then people begin to teach them how to read and teach them about math. And then I've had the privilege of seeing them go to college and now have great jobs. So I think the Life Center, and then also we have a place called the Marimbe House. That's Ugandan for peace. And we take care of orphans there, in particular the African Children's Choir. It's quite a famous choir. And serving them has opened my eyes to the need in Africa in particular, and other places where there are so many orphans. So those are two opportunities. But in your school and people around you, in your church or your community or your whatever you do with your life, you're going to find open doors. So I would say, most importantly, don't hesitate. Jump in and give yourself to it and see how that works for you.
So the key to your success was serving people, and that opened many doors for
That
you.
was one of them, yeah. I think that even before that, the key to whatever success I've had is rewiring my brain. Rewire my brain to think the best, believe the best, 80% of all thoughts are negative. That's a research based on Dr. Daniel Amen, who has seen more brain scans than anyone in history. And he said that most of our thoughts are like ants, automatic negative thoughts, ANTS, automatic negative thoughts. And he said, whenever you have a bad thought, you need to replace it with a good thought, a positive, affirming thought. So instead of having ants, you need to have pats in your life. And I found that for me to work really well when I was young, and I had brokenness in my life, and I was able to use scripture to speak into my life and let the Word of God direct my life and my thoughts. And then all of a sudden there was alignment between spirit, soul, and body being aligned unto the purposes of God and the purposes to help humanity. So it changed everything. And so when I was able to go out and serve and help people, sometimes they're looking at me saying, who are you? What do you have? But then instead of me cowering away from that or feeling insecure, that I choose to believe the best, and I choose to have a positive, affirming thought that takes the place of anything negative or fearful.
Wow. When you rewired your brain back when you were like around my age, did you start going to church more, believing God more? How did that play out for you?
Well, that's a really great and a deep question. But for me, I was really seeking at my junior and senior years in high school. I began to actually seek, and I began to read books, and I began to read philosophy. And my family was a-religious. A-religious meaning non-religious. We didn't have anything. We didn't have anything going on, and there was just emptiness in me, and this hole in me, if you will. And even though I had certain things that were going fine, intellectually, school, education, my golf team, and certainly in social settings, I was pretty popular, but there was still this emptiness and this dread, this sense of like, what is life all about? And then I started going off into a little bit of the dark thinking, where you're like, why am I here? Should I even be here? And I wasn't thinking about taking my life or anything like that, but I knew people, and I know people even today. Like this morning, oh man, it was tough. I mean, one of my best friends, his best friend, took his life this morning. And when I hear that, it just so heartbreaking, because it doesn't have to be that way. And I'll speak to your friends here. I mean, people love you, people care about you, and this is just a bump in the road that you're in. You're in a ditch right now, but you can get out of it. And your first step is to reach up and ask for help. And in my life, back then, turning to God was everything. And I turned to Him, and that's when I began to more than go to church, because I still don't see myself as religious, but I see myself as a dedicated disciple to Jesus Christ. And that's my life. And it may not be everybody's life, but it opened up a whole new world for me. And I felt like I never have, and I've been able to have peace and joy and happiness and success in my life.
Oh, that's a really sad story. If anyone our age is having those same thoughts that just happened this morning, what is the number one thing you'd recommend for them to do?
Call somebody right away. Don't even waste time. Just say, look, I'm having a downer day. I need someone to talk to. And if you don't have a friend like that, you need a community. You need to find a community of people who are not just going to take from you. And that's the problem. A lot of people have friends that are takers. Yeah. And it's okay to have an occasional taker in your life if you have those who are givers in your life. Yeah. And you have to have a good community around you.
How would you recommend people find those communities?
Yeah, well, for me, it's like go to church, join a men's club, join an athletic club. Like you're a soccer player, I think your knees holding you back right now. Yeah. But it can be healed, and you can be a star soccer player in college, I guess, after you get through this. But maybe next year. But I think that there are communities everywhere, and most people just have so much insecurity, bottled up insecurity. They just feel like I can't, I can't get past that. But like you're reaching out to me. We've never really fully met each other. I've seen you across the street. Yeah. You're my neighbor, and I'm sorry I haven't known you better, but I really getting to know you. And you're a go-getter. You have that. You have that chip in you. This is fantastic. But a lot of people aren't like us. Yeah. They give up too quickly.
And from your perspective, what are personal qualities that are crucial for success in ministry and community leadership, and how can teenagers start to develop these traits now?
Yeah. So some of it I've already said, but Jesus, one of his sayings was that he said, if you want to be great, if you want to be the greatest, if you want to be first, he says something that you don't expect him to say. He says, if you want to be great, you need to be a servant. And that's turning the whole world upside down. You know, all these songs, you want to be coy, you want to be this, you want to be that, you know, and you got to be that, and it's not really true. I mean, you have to be true to yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to be true to God, and you have to be true to your family, and all of this can happen when you just really stop thinking just about yourself and start making your life about others. And that to me is success.
So being humble is the first step to starting to serve.
It really is. I mean, being humble in so many ways. Being humble in, I don't know everything. You think about in the universe, like you might be the first in your class, but think about how much in the universe and in the world, how much can we know? Who knows everything about quantum mechanics? Who knows everything about the new physics? Who knows everything about the universe, about the cell? I mean, we're finding, back in my era, we just had one microscope. It was a light microscope. And you see 3 parts of the cell. Then all of a sudden there's this other microscope that comes. It's an electron microscope. And when you look into a cell, you see it's like New York City. It's like Manhattan. There's streets, there are garbage dumps, there are places where you get fed. I mean, there's all this stuff that's going on that we don't know much about. And none of us can know about everything. And that's why we can excel in certain things. But that is the beginning, is this acknowledge, like, hey, I don't know everything. Matter of fact, I know very little. And so why don't I ask questions?
Yeah.
That has really worked for me, and that's helped me. Because your parents are in the field of medicine, I think, and is that right? Your dad's in medicine, psychology, maybe?
Yeah,
psychiatry.
My dad's in like the scientist field where he does like tobacco research.
Oh, that's right. So he knows that, and so I need to find out about that. And to me, it's almost everyone can teach me something. Everybody. Yeah. So I have this friend. I was making a joke with her the other day. I said, "You're the greatest fried chicken maker in the world." I mean, her fried chicken is off the chain. So I have to ask her, like, "How do you make this? How did you learn to make this?" And that's enriching me, and I'm honoring her too because she's proud of her fried chicken.
Yeah. So having an open mind, knowing that you can learn anything from absolutely everyone, no matter how their credentials are, is the key to life.
Everybody. You've seen my little girls running around the neighborhood. I mean, they have a bag of stories all the time, and it's always changing because they're in schools and everybody's talking, and it's. I think we can learn things even from children.
Yeah. Mentorship has played a significant role in many successful careers. Can you discuss how mentorship has influenced your path and offer tips for teenagers seeking mentors?
Man, that's great. I'm really not sure that I know how teenagers can find mentors. But in our church community, we really encourage it. We kind of tear down the barrier between adults and kids. We think this is a big mistake just to have kids going into their own classes and not be around the adults. And vice versa, because being an older guy with younger children, twin girls, it changed my life. I mean, we adopted them sight unseen when there was a need there, and we said yes to it. And I had no idea how much it would change my life, because I raised 4 sons and have 5 grandkids, and I would say God really blessed us with, out of a prayer from my wife. She said, I want to have girls. I want to have twin girls, specifically. And then all of a sudden this door opens up 3 or 4 years later. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not ready for this. But it turned out that, just to be really one of the greatest gifts ever. And I think I just got off your track of your question about, mentors and mentoring and all that. But asking questions is a big part of it. And for me, I'm always honored when people would ask me to mentor them, but I also had some great mentors. Some would be in the role of passive mentors. Passive meaning I don't have a personal relationship with them, but I follow them. I listen to them. I absorb what their teachings are. That's one. And then some is just like a minimal connection. And then others are, the way they would put it, this person would put it, he said, I don't want to be I don't want to be passive in this. I want to be aggressive. I want you to get into my life, into my brain, into my kitchen, into my thoughts, into my relationship with my wife and my family. I want you to give me everything you got. And that's a lot of humility there. But when you look at the best in the world, like Tiger Woods, a golfer, right? He's like, here's the, years ago, he's not anymore the number one anymore, but like 10 years ago, he was number one, right? And yet he had a coach, and then he has another coach, and then I think he has 3 coaches. And I'm like, that is, for greatness to continue to be great, you've got to get it. You have to get a mentor, coach, somebody in your life who can help you.
So it really ties into being humble and getting advice from other people. You're saying that the barrier between adults and children shouldn't be a thing. Anyone can be considered a mentor as long as they give you some type of advice.
Yeah, at some degree. And now I love the thought of having a personal mentor. I like that, and I think that's how we do it in my community. We offer ourselves to others. At the same time, we wait on them to invite us into their world.
Okay.
So if you want a mentor, give a clue, send a signal. Like, I'm interested in what you have to share, and I would like to know more. That could be a beginning point. But don't give up there if they just throw a book at you. If they throw a book at you, consider that good news, not bad news. You can't get it all at one time.
So no matter where you are in life, always seek someone.
Always. Come on, man. That's good. That's good.
And looking ahead, what do you see as the future challenges in the ministry and humanitarian work? How should today's youth equip themselves to meet those challenges?
Yeah, I think we've sort of summed that up here, but I think the way that we face these challenges is to learn, ask questions, find mentors, and most importantly, get involved. Nike stole our slogan, just do it. They stole that from us. It's been around a while, but they certainly marketized that, and it's a brilliant slogan, just do it. And a lot of people see that in the athletic industry, and that's a great place to put it, but it can also be with other situations too. It could be research. It could be what we do. We put out water wells where there's no water, where people are dying because there's no water. That's one of the things that we do. We give education for free. We've done it all over China. We've done it all over Pakistan. And we help people to have a life, to get out of indentured servanthood, slavery, all that. We want to see every person have their best opportunity to succeed in life, and most importantly, to know God.
Yeah. Many people have this mental block within themselves. They always want to help, but there's always something stopping them from helping. And we went over how we have to be humble to get that overcome. Like, for example, some people are very shy to cameras, and cameras is something they have to do to help people. What do you really recommend for those type of people?
The first thing, they need to understand that they are known and loved by God. That is my advantage. That's my unfair advantage, is that I believe I have God on my side. And I believe that God is open to everybody. So that's one thing. And I know there are many people who maybe don't believe it exactly like I do or whatever, but still they can have the benefit of prayer, the benefit of having their own faith, the benefit of being exposed to good thoughts and really learning what it is to overcome. The more that we try to make people happy, sometimes it just fails.
Yeah.
Because they have to find happiness in themselves.
And lastly, what general advice would you give to teenagers who want to integrate their faith with their career aspirations, focusing on resilience and persistence?
Talk to me.
Yeah.
No, but you can talk to a lot of people about that, and yeah, I think that the nonprofit world is really a great world. Nonprofit, because there's not a lot of profit, there's not a lot of money over there. But in my journey, the more I began to help others and not worry about myself, resources would come to me, business deals would happen for me, and there's always a provision that's out there. But most importantly, those who feel stuck, or those who feel certain ways, reach out and you can go to Google and find out opportunities in the nonprofit world. I think there's so many things that can be done to help the world, make the world a better place, so to speak, and then there are those who are out there literally changing the world. And so that's what I aspire to be and to do, and I hope we all will, one way or the other.
Yeah. I'm extremely grateful that you came on today's podcast, and you especially, as our first episode with someone related to God, the God's best way to start everything, and I'm really grateful for it.
Appreciate it, bro. Me too.
Thank you so much.
All right.